All right. Welcome to episode 11 of the Jake Blanchard podcast. Today, my guest is Andy Pho. Andy's an internationally acclaimed tattoo artist. He's known for his work in black and gray, as well as realism. His Instagram page speaks for itself. So definitely take some time as you're listening to this podcast to go out to Andy's Instagram page. Andy is a busy man. He's established an online tattooing mentorship program. He's currently tattooing in New York, and he's evaluating where he's going to open his next studio. I'm excited to have you on the podcast, Andy. Welcome.
Thanks for having me here, man. This is a really cool opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, let's just start with some baseline information. Just maybe there's some folks out there who happen to not know Andy. Where are you from? And then how did you get into tattooing?
I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, born and raised there, and thought I'd leave the city. I moved to Las Vegas to learn how to tattoo for my brother. And there for about 9 years or so, and currently relocated back to New York. And that's just my passion, my focus. You know, that's what I enjoy doing the most, and being able to help other tattooers and other artists thrive and grow in that same area that I love.
Yeah, I know you through this. We met in Las Vegas earlier in the year. We were both graduates of this 75-hour like intensive personal growth, mindset expanding experience called the MDK Project. And one of the things that struck me when I talked to you is that you actually started in art school and then you made your way into tattooing. Was that always the plan, or is that something that you kind of evolved into?
I evolved into it in the sense of I've always been into art, but I just grew up in a household that was, you couldn't do anything with art. You couldn't make money with it. That's not a career option. Go be an engineer, a lawyer, or a doctor. And I tried being a doctor when I was in, middle school, high school. That wasn't my route. I went to college actually for electrical engineering, and I had no idea what it meant to be an engineer. By my third year, I dropped out. And I went for graphic design, and it was more so the art classes, the electives, that got me back into art. And I just knew by this constant cycle of like trying to pursue everyone else's wishes and staying away from what I really enjoyed every day, I just had to make that leap. And I've seen tattoos. I've been around it. I knew my brother did it, but I just wanted to ask him, what was it like if I got into tattooing? And he said, hey, if you move out to Vegas, I'll teach you. And as they say, the rest is history from there.
Oh, it's crazy. So you get out to Las Vegas. That's a pretty distracting city to go to start learning a new art form. What was the decade or so like in Las Vegas? How were you able to just keep the blinders on, stay focused?
A big part of that is also not knowing anybody else other than, my family out there. So I moved out there with, no car, no friends, nobody else. I had to hustle out there. So even with the skill sets that are being taught, I still had to go out there and hand out business cards and talk to people June, July, and August when it's 115 degrees, walking back 5-10 miles from the strip mall and just handing out business cards and just slowly developing clientele over time and just learning how to navigate the city, just trying to bring in clients and just focusing on the artwork. So I think having moved to a new city was actually less distractions. And, I wasn't into the clubbing life or, going out in the strip or anything. So I was just tattooing 6-7 days a week. And that's just kind of been my work ethic for a long time.
Yeah. So, take me through the process. And, this may be an experienced simpleton's question. Obviously I have some tattoos. I understand the permanent nature of being on the other side of the needle. But for you, like when you're setting up a piece of art for someone, like how have you, to me, there's got to be a lot of pressure there, at least early on when you move from like drawing on paper to drawing on people. I guess I'm interested in how you get past that from a mindset standpoint.
Yeah. Just because you can draw doesn't mean you can tattoo. And just because you tattoo doesn't mean you can draw. It takes the understanding of both mediums and being able to apply it to get your vision out there. So a lot of it is, especially when I do this mentorship program, it's really being able to teach artists, not just anybody, how to tattoo, because I don't teach a vision, a style, or a particular way to tattoo. I just teach more so a mindset and how to approach tattooing. And by that, we teach them the skill sets and how to really deep dive into their own, you know, inner artists and really just kind of develop their own style further. So it's just more so of a guidance, of a mentorship process. But really, the only way to get going is to essentially practice on skin, practice on friends. And you want to minimize the mistakes you're making by just knowing what your limits are, focusing on the foundation. And the more you can focus on that and you minimize your mistakes, you actually progress much faster. And then we expedite the process of being able to teach people on how to become a better tattooer faster.
All right. So like, I'm really interested in this mentorship thing. Let me ask a pretty obvious question again, is like with most occupations, people don't have a hard time coming up with a surface level understanding. Like you're a tattoo artist. You have needle, you have ink, there's skin, make it happen. And then there's this like, I don't know, I would kind of call it the knowledge underworld. That's associated with, some of the things that you're talking about, the mindset and, the little nuances that make things so, that separate the line that separates the amateur from the professional. Like, what were some of the surprising things that you've come across to help yourself build out this mentorship program? Like, what, maybe help us understand a little bit more about how you help people tap into that mindset.
A lot of it was just learning to articulate what tattooing was over the years. So my mentor was my brother. He taught me how to tattoo in the sense of just really being able to show me, how he works. And I've always been self-aware, been very self-critical. So just based off of the way that he taught, it was just a matter of, watch and learn and try it out, and just getting feedback of, things are good and things aren't good. Watch again and keep practicing. And some people thrive on that. That's what I really enjoy doing the most. Other people, they require a little bit more guidance. So I definitely don't teach people how to tattoo from the beginning, from A to Z, but I help people who have already been tattooing for a while, who understand where they're having trouble with, and just be able to get them to understand what is happening by dialing on the things such as, depth of needles, what type of equipment that they're using, what condition of the skin are they seeing when they're applying certain pressures on there. And just by being able to critique their work, getting them to become more self-aware of the process, then we're able to kind of dial in on the very minute changes that has to happen to get a certain type of result. And I just kind of learned to develop this over time, that I don't even have to be there in person anymore. Been tattooing about 9-10 years now, and even as early as like 5 years ago, I've worked with other apprentices, and it's essentially in my nature to just kind of help other people in the environment. So we've had other tattooers that have had less experience, or people that are just coming into tattooing, and I just wanted to be able to help guide them through the process. And what we do is, what our mentor Bedros has taught us, which is time collapsing. Taking everything that other tattoos have shown me, being able to condense that into a format that's easy for me to understand, and then taking that collective experience with what I've processed, teach that to somebody else. So now we're really shortening the learning curve from a 15, 20-year process into 10 years, now into 5, 2. And the quickest way that I've been able to see someone grow and develop from, let's say, beginner to an amateur semi-pro is 8 months, and there is that underground old school mentality of you shouldn't be learning that fast. You should really have to suffer and be able to learn and struggle and go through all that. And I understand the mentality that goes behind that. But at the same time, there's so many people with skill and talent and with good heart who want to get better at it. And there's also less clients out there with fucked up tattoos, because you're teaching people the right way, and you're teaching people how to be more conscious, aware, and actually more caring for their clients and the work that they're putting out.
Yeah, that's an interesting point that you brought up, the old school mentality around like kind of suffering through it. I'm particularly interested in the word suffer, broken down in Latin. Su means to, fur means to sacrifice, right? Basically, so suffer means in Latin to sacrifice. And so just as long as you're sacrificing, right? You're sacrificing time, you're sacrificing, your ego, right? You're finding different mediums to time collapse. As you stated, I think it's just technology has evolved in such a way that it brings people like you to the doorstep of people who, maybe potentially would not be able to tap into that expertise in such a meaningful way. So you've been doing this now, this mentorship program, for how long?
I mean, informally, about 5 years. Just being able to guide other tattooers, through the process. And I started a formal program back in March. So during COVID, and I've done some one-on-one in-person seminars, mentorships, where people are coming along to conventions or people are at the shop and they're just kind of watching, shadowing, asking questions, and being able to coach and guide them through what they're seeing so that they can understand tattooing in a different way. And when COVID hit and we couldn't tattoo at shops anymore and people were still interested in learning and they had more time than ever, I figured it was a great time to open that opportunity to offer it essentially at a lower cost, to be able to come in a group setting and teach almost the same sort of information. But the great thing now is that we're doing this and not in a one-on-one basis, but we're doing it in group settings. So start out with 4 people, then it grew to 6, and now I'm almost limiting it to 10 people each, because with all the questions, with all the energy, with all the experience that we have, it gives me the perfect amount of people to give all the attention that we need, get all their questions answered. And, it's been a great learning experience where November is going to be our 4th class. And I think every other month we're going to continue to do this. If I can carve more time out next year, then perhaps every month or even twice a month with different groups, because tattooers have all different schedules. And we're actually working with people from all over the world. I had one tattooer out in Taiwan. I've got another guy coming in from Australia. So everyone's really learning to adapt to their schedule, because we want to make sure that by sacrificing their time, the money that they're saving, the time away from their family, and to be able to learn and get better at their craft, I respect that. And we want to be able to tailor and give them the value of just honestly just trying to help people and just be generous with the information, because there is room for growth. There's room for plenty of tattooers to get all the clients out there. We're not scarcity mindset. We definitely in the path of more people turning 18, more people being aware of what quality tattoos are, more clients who are 40, 50, 60-year-olds getting their first tattoos. And I think that's just with the boom of the internet, of just being able to see the work that's out there. And really, the more that people get better, the more that we're helping everyone grow, it keeps us on our toes, because we want to continue to grow, develop, and just keep progressing ourselves. So I'm definitely not afraid of being able to help people, but it's got to be with good intentions. And it's also got to be with good tattooers as well. I'm not going to be able to teach somebody who is not art driven. It has to be with the focus of art, client care, and the self-betterment first. Everything else, the money and all that, like that's just a byproduct of it. And we just happen to be in a really good industry where if you care enough, the money, the clientele, the busyness comes, but the self-satisfaction of being able to do what you love every day, help people at the same time, and bond with great clients is one of my favorite things about tattooing.
Dude, that is so awesome. So where do people just hit you DM on your Instagram for that? Or do you have a website set up for that? Like if somebody's listening to this, interested in your tattoo mentorship program, where do they go?
Yeah. I was working through the idea of doing a website, and eventually we'll get that going.
Yeah.
But I think Instagram right now is the hub for tattooers to kind of check each other's works out. And a lot of tattooers also no DMs, don't send me any questions, I'm too busy. But, I just find it so humbling, and I'm honored for people to just even reach out. And people are honored to be able to get a response. So, they shoot me a DM, I post about it. I don't advertise too much about it because there's already enough inquiries. But I just want to be able to have people reach out. And what I like doing is sending voice memos to them so that they're hearing the voice of the person that they're trying to learn from. We're connecting with them and just really answering any and all questions, clearing any doubts, and just making sure that whatever questions, concerns, or wherever they're trying to grow, we're going to get them moving from where they're at right now into that direction. But we have to be able to create that dialogue. And I don't think a website's going to cut it. I don't think texting or, none of that's going to work out. It has to be through some sort of verbal communication. So I've definitely been enjoying like sending voice memos, even hopping on FaceTime calls with a lot of tattooers as well.
That's awesome. Hey man, I wanted to pivot just for a second. I've got your Instagram page up. I'm going to share it here so you can see it. I want to put you on the spot here because you've got obviously, I spent quite a bit of time checking out your artwork since I've known you. But this Anthony Bourdain one that you've done is it's so interesting to me. It's so powerful to me. Just the way that he's looking and I don't know, man. I found myself staring at this for quite a while. Is there anything that you can add to this? I just wanted to ask you about it. Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, no, you're good. That was actually my first tattoo getting into New York. So this was on my client Nicole. The tattoo shop I work at is called Love Machine, and yeah, I chose Love Machine because it's so art driven. There's tattooers from all over the world, people that I know that work there, and I really just wanted to really go back to the focus of art and learning different styles. So I think that over time I've learned how to understand the technical aspects of tattooing. And my tattooing has a certain look where it's not 100% realism, but it has a stylized look that I enjoy doing and that clients like. And I'm going to continue to evolve it over time. But as far as like the portrait, it's the imagery. That's something that we decided to, me and the client to choose together because it's just so different from all the other Anthony Bourdain tattoos. Like he is a foodie, he is someone who enjoys sharing that experience. What better way to portray Anthony Bourdain than being in the act of what he loves, which is eating food? And it just became like such a great size, a great visual for, her tattoo for him.
Yeah, he's got this kind of like this measured like enjoyment, but like criticism. Like he's very like it just captures really in essence. I watched a lot of his show, and he really does have this like I'm about to bite into something, and I'm going to enjoy this for what it is. And it just really spoke to me. So I just wanted to give a nod to this, and then also obviously pull up your page as well, which has a ton of really amazing artwork on it. Pivoting a little bit more, watched a video of you on a surfboard or stand-up paddleboard getting pushed across the lake in Texas. You're in Texas right now, man. Hey, what's going on? What are you doing in Texas?
So we're exploring different cities. Moving from Vegas to New York was just a way for us to reset, to recalibrate, and again, that's where I grew up. So a lot of our friends and family are there, and that's what I'm very big on. It's just being able to have that connection with family. I'm family first oriented, and being able to spend that time with them. When we talk about sacrificing and suffering, I spent a lot of time away from them. My daughter is one of 14 nieces and nephews. And, I've missed a lot of birthdays, a lot of parties. I've been busy working and, focusing on my craft. And my family generally knows me as, like Uncle Andy's busy, my brother's busy. And what really hit home of why I wanted to just kind of recalibrate and focus more on the family aspect was I was away on a convention one day and my wife told me like, hey, don't be upset. But Ellie said, Papa's busy. My daughters too. And it really just struck home of like, I don't want to be that dad or that, that family man who's just too busy to be at home. So I understand the idea of sacrifice, making a lot of money, growing things for your family. But the one thing we know that we don't get back is time. The one story that we hear a lot is people regret not spending more time or, making up on whatever, hardships they've had with family members on their deathbed. I don't want to be that person, that story has been going on since the start of humanity, and I don't want to repeat that cycle. So, I'm just here to find a new place to call home, potentially relocate, my family outside of New York and, pretty much start a tattoo shop out here. Doesn't need to be anything big. I just really wanted to have a group of good artists who want to grow, focus on the artwork. And Austin, Texas has been really awesome so far. We've been here for about 4 days. It's definitely a much different pace than New York and Vegas. But I think this is really what I'm looking for as far as the vibe, the atmosphere, the people, the nature aspect. It's really art-based. I'm enjoying my trip out.
How much longer are you going to stay out there on this trip?
We're here till tomorrow. So
Okay.
today is the day. Yesterday we looked at some residential spaces in some neighborhoods. We wanted to just kind of feel out what it's like inside and outside of the city. We're going to look at some commercial spaces as well. And you know, just being able to explore for another day or two is just going to give us that time to see if we're going to make another trip out here. You know, then I can bring my wife out here, bring my kid. Um, but if it's the one thing that I've 100% enjoyed is the food so far. I'm big on
Oh yeah.
food, so I'm always traveling, and you know, being able to have clients fly out here and get tattooed, I'm gonna have a good list of things we can eat. So that's one of the things me and my clients enjoy a lot.
That's awesome, man. So, I want to go back to a point that you were making earlier about sacrifice, but more specifically, kind of like balance. So, you're in a point in your career where, you're definitely well known. People are approaching you all the time. You're booked probably, quite a few months, if not more out. And, you have options. How do you shift your mindset to stay aggressive on this mentoring program, your new locations, building up that business, but also finding that balance you seem to seek as well?
It changes all the time. I don't like using the word or the term work-life balance. I like using the term like work-life flow. You know, so things change all the time. You know, there's some times where like you're in this mode, everything's good at home, everything's good with your finances, with your fitness, and then now you just want to focus on the work. And you know, Erica, my wife, she may not mind me working, you know, and traveling for a week to 2 weeks at a time, or just having to work 6, 7 days a week. Then there's other times where I get burnt out, you know, and I just want to work 1 or 2 days and have that flexibility to go home. But now it's just a matter of creating that balance of, I understand that I can't tattoo the world. You know, everyone that inquires can't get tattooed. And my family also needs that time. So overtime is not enough for me anymore because it's not fair to my daughter and to my wife. So I'm at a place now where like I'm very strict with my schedule. I booked about 4 months out, which is unusual in the sense of I like being booked a month to 2 months out. But New York's just been really good to me. I'm booked 4 months out, and I don't even like saying books closed because I always like people being able to inquire and just know that they can get in the chair as long as the conditions are right with the artwork and scheduling. Um, but now I'm at a place where I'm working 4 days a week. We're doing the mentorship 1 day a week on Tuesdays, and then we're also scheduling the one-on-one calls for those 10 people. Next year, I'm open to the idea of tattooing 2 to 3 days a week. And it's in the idea of, I'm not a lazy tattooer. I would definitely like to tattoo more, but now that I have the opportunity to spend time at home, I'm more refreshed, I'm more energetic to give my energy towards my clients when it comes to tattoo work. Then it gives me that time to be able to implement a better mentorship program. And during those mentorship programs, I'm still tattooing. I'm just tattooing the projects that I really want to do and being able to teach people at the same time. So I'm at this flow right now where I want to tattoo appointments less, tattoo more of the personal projects that I want to do more of, be able to hang out and spend more time with family, be able to take weeks off every month. So every month I've got a week scheduled off. I think next year, even every 6 months, I'm going to take another month off. So that's just unheard of. I've generally been so used to working 6 days, 7 days a week, and that was just the norm. I don't think that has to be the case because everyone is struggling to find that work-life flow. This is just a flow that has worked for me. And I feel like this is something that I'm becoming more and more content with.
Dude, I love this entrepreneurial mindset. Obviously, as a tattoo artist, you definitely work for yourself. You're building your brand, those kinds of things. But the way that you're reaching out into other avenues, the way that you're pouring into other people, and sharing yourself and sharing your ideas about tattooing to help elevate their game. I think that's incredible. And it's like I was pretty surprised because it doesn't seem like there's a lot of these online tattoo mentorship type programs out there. And is it just because of the subculture has always been you find somebody that you study under physically and then you spend time in that physical location and that's just what's commonplace? Or have there been some before, but maybe they just don't work out? Like, I don't know much about it.
I don't know the full spectrum because there's tattoos all over the world, and everyone, it's so vast and so expansive that there are schools out there. And that's a big dilemma or dialogue or controversy in tattooing. And mainly it stems from more so the old school aspect of there shouldn't be tattoo schools. I'm 100% in support of people finding mentorships in person, being able to spend years at a time at a particular place and trading your time and energy, giving your percentage to the shop, being able to learn the craft and get that guidance in person, because there are some things that I just can't teach in person. But that's why this program is geared towards people who have already had that experience. There are a lot of bad apprenticeships as well, as far as like what people are getting into. And just because you have students and just because you're a teacher or mentor doesn't necessarily mean you're good at it. Having students doesn't make you a teacher. And I don't like to define myself as an artist or as a teacher, but it's just more so a guide, a mentor, just the same way that we have, big brothers and big sister mentors of people who are just trying to guide us through life. That's also a big portion of what I'm doing too. Is 10% is the technical aspect. The other 90% is the mental aspect, how to balance family, how to work on your portfolio and your social media, how to get clients, you know, marketing, whatever it is. Like, there's just a variety of different topics, but the technical part is so small that by the time people get into this program, it's something that they don't expect, but they feel so much value just out of the first day that this is something that I can continue to be on board with, support, and do, and even potentially help. I've helped other people create seminars and mentorship programs, because everyone has something special to offer. But, going into the traditional apprenticeship, being at a shop for some time, I do think that's 100% critical. Can I teach 200 people in a room in a school setting? I don't think that's the case, but there are certain things you can teach in a setting that big. So we are working on some things as far as like smaller seminars or classes geared towards specific topics. And the more I do these mentorships, 5 weeks, they're very extensive. I'm learning so much more of what the common questions are, what I can do in Instagram videos, what I may put on YouTube, what I may do in a larger streaming session, that we just want to help people grow and thrive, get out of the careers that they don't want to do, and get into tattooing because they love the art and the process, not because of the money, not because of the house and the cars. That all comes as a byproduct. If you love tattooing, the art aspect, you're genuine to it, you're a good person, let's get you rolling. Let's get you onto the board of, becoming a better tattooer and having a better life.
So in this mentorship program, you're taking people who maybe have never tattooed before and working with them as well. Or are you looking for people who have been tattooing for a while and they're looking to up their game? Sorry for not understanding.
You have to have some experience. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not going through the ABCs of tattooing, but there are people who don't understand A, B, or C, or all three, even though they've had apprenticeships for a year, 2 years, 5 years, even tattooing. Like, you need to have some sort of understanding, and we give assignments before and during the class as well. So we definitely need to see some tattoo work prior. And the more you can share your experience as far as design work, tattooing, what you're going through with your shop, then I can mentor and custom tailor the program to get you to understand and be more in touch with the information because you've experienced it, rather than me theorizing on what tattooing should be and how to approach a client if you've never had that experience before. You need to have that experience already, and I'm just going to help you time collapse and save a lot of time, shave off a lot of years of trial and error. Some people think that's cheating, but I just think we're really helping people get better, and we're also saving a lot of, again, clients from having shitty tattoos. Instead of shitting on them for not being good enough.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And, I love that. I love getting a group of people in a setting, talking about similar topics. And then, it looks like you're spending the one-on-one time to really dial in that individual. I know you've been doing it, you said, informally for 5 years, starting the online stuff since about March. What's been the most rewarding part of it? I mean, are you seeing the results that you were hoping? Is it exceeding your expectations? What's that like?
It's exceeding the expectations. So going back to what we were saying about, like, how do we balance that, work-life flow? Every program, I'm always like, man, I'm exhausted, because not only am I exhausted from focusing on the act of tattooing, but now I have to mentally articulate everything that's going on and be able to explain it with precision so that it's being understood on the other side, but all taking questions and having conversations at the same time from multiple people. So there are periods of time where I'm just like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Like, I'm just tired, and I'm not sure if I can continue at this pace. But the important thing is learning that that's only happening up here because I haven't really been able to, coordinate my schedule accordingly to get my energy aligned in the right way. And that's what's going to come from next year of being able to change my schedule of, availability for people booking appointments. But I'm okay with that because these mentorship programs, I'm actually doing personal projects that I enjoy the most. I'm tattooing my brother-in-laws, I'm tattooing my sisters who have all been asking for tattoos for so long. And now that I'm back in New York, what perfect time to do that? So I'm creating family bond with my family members. I'm doing the tattoos I want to do. I'm taking the time to teach people how to tattoo at the same time. So if I can adjust my schedule next year, I'm going to love this so much more. And the rewarding factor of when I wake up at 6:30 in the morning to walk my dogs, and from 7 to 9, I've got 4 half-hour calls with people. And then later in the evening, I've got calls for the West Coast and another call for Taiwan or whatever it is. Then I'm just like, you know what? I'm exhausted, but to hear everyone have that aha moment of like, that's such a good point. I never heard it that way. That changes my whole perspective. To hear those comments, I'm like, I just impacted somebody and they're just going to approach and respect tattooing so much more. I should keep doing this because I know that there are people who are struggling and they just don't have the articulation from the people around them or the self-awareness to articulate it themselves. So not only do I get to see people thrive and grow, but I'm also learning a lot from being able to teach people. And every program gets better and better because I'm working and learning from so much more experience. So I'm time collapsing from all these students' experiences and being able to share it. Understand that we're collectively having the same issues and the same problems. How do we get everyone to be on the same boat to get better together? And I think that's what's going to help the tattoo community in general.
That's some powerful words, man. I appreciate you sharing that perspective. I think about my experiences in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I noticed that the folks who take the time to go to the kids classes or the beginners classes who are about my level in Jiu-Jitsu that are teaching, because they're explaining what it takes to do an armbar in detail, step by step, over and over and over and over again, it has helped them in their jujitsu become so much better without even, they're not even necessarily practicing the armbar on something. They're just explaining it over and over again. And then when they get to it, it's like, oh man, you've gotten better. How did you get better without, actually grappling more or positional drilling more? You're spending a lot more time just thinking about it. And
Yeah.
so, I love that you're talking about like, hey, I'm not a lazy tattoo artist. I'm focusing on the things that I really want to take on. I'm pouring into other people. I'm doing this work-life flow, which I'm going to steal from you for sure, and start using this in my life as well. Anything else that you wanted to share today? Anything interesting, things that we could look forward to you through the end of this year and the start of next year?
Uh, I'm always happiness driven first, and that's just something that a lot of people just are missing in life. And I'm generally, I believe, more positive than a lot of other people, but I haven't always been this way. It's big thanks to my wife for being able to kind of ground me and center me into like really like figuring out like why was I so angry over time, and you start to see all the little things that have happened, in your past, in your childhood, what your family life is like. The same thing with what the Modern Day Nights project of what we went through, which is, the way I would break down the Modern Day Nights project is it's 75 hours of physical challenges, mental conditioning, psychological and emotional deep diving. Being able to go through all that helps you get recentered and figure out what is it about life that I want to do? Where do I want to push forward? Where do I want to make the most impact? What makes me happy and have that energy to go forward in life? And I think that's something that you can't dictate that to people because everyone has such different experiences. You have to be able to take that time off and recenter and take the blinders off every once in a while. I run full speed, I bike full speed, I tattoo full speed, I work 6-7 days a week, and I love tattooing, but I wasn't always the happiest during that. I've been burnt out. There's times where I didn't want to tattoo anymore. And to have something that you're so passionate about, something that you sacrifice so much about, and to end up not being happy doing it, we have to reevaluate what's going on with our lives. So I'm happiness driven first. And I just encourage people to just kind of take that time off to talk to yourself, hear the thoughts that are going on, reach out to different people and people that you like, people that you look up to, people that, you know, resonate with you, who have a different type of energy. And I think that's what draws us together. That's what drew us to the project. That's what draws us to our partners in life, to our coworkers, to our environments. Like, you have to go with that gut instinct of, I have good energy with these people, and you're going to live a much more self-fulfilling life by learning how to be in tune with whatever that happiness is to you. So I just wish you and everybody else to, if you love doing this podcast thing and this makes you happy, by all means, like, I support it. I love it. I see how much energy you're pouring into it. Like, I want you to take this off full speed, and the same with everyone else. Whatever that project is, whatever you enjoy doing, chase after it, you know, and chase after it with that idea of the work-life flow. And it's just life. We're just here to have fun and have the same experience of just being happy together, you know. And it sounds like really, like, I don't know, hippie shit, but
no, man,
I'm good with that.
I feel that 1,000%, you know, and just kind of looking back at some of the comments you made about the project. I spent a lot of years working for other people and not necessarily listening to, you know, the need that I have to have creative outlets. And I reorganized my life over the last year in order to ensure that I could launch something like a podcast that I've been talking about for 5 or 6 years. I was talking with my friend Luke the other day. He's like, dude, you've been talking about this for 5 years. What changed? Like, what made you actually do it? And I was like, well, I finally came to terms with the fact that I'm allowed to be happy and explore new avenues and try new things and have fun with it. And I'm having an absolute blast with it, man. And I'm so honored that you agreed to come on and share your story. And I'm wishing you all the best as well.
You know, real quick, like, it sounds silly that, like, we're supposed to, like, you know, we allow ourselves to feel happy. Like, that's a given, right? And that doesn't mean like everything's going to be easy and smooth sailing. Like, with suffering comes some sort of happiness. You know, people who lift weights, people who bike, people who run, or whatever it is that you're doing, like, you are going through some sort of suffering. But through the end of that, you know, through that process, through the journey, as long as you're enjoying it and you know, like, you're enjoying the process and you're going to keep doing it and you get whatever that end result is, then that's your form of happiness, whatever it is, whether it's building and booming your business, whether it's, you know, spending time for yourself to do something that has no financial gain, whether it's out there, you know, just, again, pushing art, doing podcasts, whatever it is. Like, we have to allow ourselves that option to question, do I enjoy everything 100%? And my biggest philosophy is, if you don't enjoy something, if you're not happy with it and it's your life, you have the option to question, make changes, and adapt. And sometimes it takes very difficult decisions, but you always just have to be mindful and respectful of the other people, just be able to communicate. And, you know, just know that as long as you're 100% genuine and you're sharing all of your thoughts and feelings, then what other validation do you need than other than yourself?
Well said, my man. Hey, well, you know, I'm excited to keep up with you, especially over the next 4, 6, 8 months, whatever your timeline is, as you're exploring what's next for you. I'm looking forward to also getting on an airplane and getting on your busy schedule. I'd be honored to find myself an Andy Pho tattoo somewhere on my body. So we'll keep in touch
I'd
about
be
that.
honored to tattoo you, man.
For sure, my brother. And yeah, let's stay in touch. And you know, anytime you want to come on the podcast, just let me know. And I'm sure I'll be reaching out sooner than later.
Yeah, always, man. I'll be sure to reach out. And yeah, I'm going to share this podcast. And I just want everyone to kind of see what Jake has to offer everybody. And, you know, with the podcast that I listen to, like, you're definitely bringing on a wide variety of experiences, a wide range of people. And, you know, this is something that, again, I can get on board and support with. So, Jake, I love you, brother. And thank you again for having me on here.
For sure, man. Take care.